Hi everybody, grüß euch und servus. Well, my name is Dieter Ventura and I'm the owner and manager of the Artelino company. We sell Japanese art prints in weekly online auctions. The subject of today's video is one of my favorite artists. He's a Shinhanga artist. Well, some of you know I like Shinhanga. His name is Hiroaki Takahashi, also called Shotei, and he was born in 1871. He had learned traditional Japanese painting from his uncle. And around 1907, he started to work for the famous Shinhanga publisher and mentor Watanabe Shotsaburo. So 1907, there was the early time when the so-called Shinhanga art movement started. And by 1923, Shotei had created roughly 500 designs. Imagine 500 woodblock designs for Watanabe. But then at the end of 1923, something terrible happened. It was the Great Kanto earthquake. And that destroyed the Watanabe print shop completely, and with it all the 500 blocks and prints, that was all gone. And Watanabe and Shotei had to start from zero again. After the Kanto earthquake, Shotei created roughly 250 designs, most for Watanabe, but also for other publishers. And he used different names. He called himself from 1907 until 1922 Shotei, and after 1922 Hiroaki or Komei. Yeah, these Japanese woodblock print artists, they like to change their names. A little bit confusing for beginners, but it's all well documented. Well, what to say about Shotei? He remained in the shadow of the great Hasui, who cooperated so closely with Watanabe and who was, the star for landscape prints. Art critics see him as a little bit as the worker bee for Watanabe. And Watanabe was rather rigid. He was a good businessman, but he had certain ideas, and that limited many of his artists. And Shotei was one of those who may have suffered from that. He was a little bit confined to smaller formats. Famous and rather frequent are the woodblock prints in Mitsugiri size. That's a narrow and rather tall size, but quite nice, and you can find them and see them on our website. There are bunches of articles, and also about Shotei, 1, 2, or 3, I don't know how many. Anyway, Shotei died on February 11 in 1945 of pneumonia. For quite some time there were reports that he may have died in the atomic bomb attack on Hiroshima, where his daughter lived, but that's not true. The family confirmed he died on February 11, 1945. That was half a year, roughly, before the atomic bomb attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In the next step, I want to explain to you this print by Shotei and why it's so typical for the Shinhanga art movement. Well, this is a very rare design by Shotei, and it's beautiful. I love it. The title is Sensoji Temple in Asakusa. Was published in 1926, and of course it's made all in woodblock print technique, the same technique with the same old tools that were used in the 18th and 19th century for such artists like Utamaro, Yoroshige, or Kunisada or Kuniyoshi, with the same tools. There you see, typical for the woodblock technique, these key lines, the black key lines there, okay, these small, tiny key lines. By the way, woodblock print technique means you have to carve one block for each color. So, but what makes this print so specific as a Shinhanga print? So what's so specific about this Shinhanga art movement? Well, these guys had the idea, let's renew this old ukiyo-e, okay, let's make a kind of a renaissance. And they had picked up from the French Impressionists the idea of showing the effects of light and shadows. The old ukiyo-e didn't know any shadows. Look here, there, shadows from the rail. Here, this guy, he casts a shadow there on the guys there. Shadow, that was something Kyohika Kobayashi, a very influential ukiyo-e artist and ukiyo-e teacher at the end of the 19th century, introduced, and he had experimented a lot on that. Another artist who had tried new things was Toyohara Chikanobu, and these two guys, they paved the way for the Shinhanga art movement. Chikanobu had experimented on another way of showing clouds and a mist and thus creating an atmosphere. Well, look at that distance here, the trees and these people. That was achieved by overprinting, and it makes the impression it's far away and it's kind of misty. It gives a certain atmosphere. Yeah, and last but not least, typical for the Shinhanga art movement and their way of showing pictures, images, well, that is a kind of Disneyland Japan, actually. Do you think that in 1926 Japan looked like that? Hardly ever. It was by that time an industrialized country, and the Sosaku Hanga art movements, they showed the contrary. They showed factories, but the Shinhanga artists, they showed, yeah, a kind of Disneyland Japan that at that time did not exist anymore. But people liked it, and nearly all of these prints went into export. Export mainly to the USA and to Europe. Collectors like and love these prints, and so do I. Well, my friends, so much today about the Shinhanga artist Hiroaki Takahashi, also called Shotei, and a little bit of insight in the Shinhanga art movement. And if you are interested in any subjects related to Japanese prints that you would like to see in an artelino video, okay, don't be shy, don't hesitate, write us an email, and I might take it into consideration. Well, thanks for watching and have a good time.